Welcome to the RV Living Show. I'm Luann Street, and it's Tuesday night. And I'm here with another topic about RVing that we all should pay special attention to. Sorry, I got tongue tied. Because, summer's in full swing, right? And personal safety is high on my list this summer. And I want to talk all about this topic today, not from the perspective of fear, but more from awareness and being alert. So, those are going to be our two words today as we dive into camping personal safety. Every time you go camping, you really should think about your personal safety. As we get out in the world and we're in our RVs and we're talking to other people, we're traveling, we're there to have a good time, we're there to be on vacation, we're there for the next destination, right? And a lot of times we're off our game because we're in it to have fun. We're not paying attention all the time as to what's going on around us. So I just wanted to draw your attention back to camping personal safety today as our topic. Because keeping your family and yourself safe is paramount, because you don't want your trip, your vacation, your life to end in something unfortunate and unexpected, right? So, personal safety by definition is the recognition and avoidance of possible harmful situations and persons in your surroundings. So, that being said, I have had a possible harmful situation in my RV life. And I'm going to tell you that story in a little bit as we dive farther into this topic. So, a quote that I found for this particular topic, camping personal safety, is luck runs out, but safety is good for life. There's all sorts of safety in our RV lives. There's tire safety. You want to make sure that you don't get a tire blowout. There's fire safety. You want to make sure that if there's a fire, you can get out of your RV, that your fire extinguisher is where you can reach it, where your not extinguisher, your those things, smoke detectors are in working order, right? So all the safety things that go along with RVing, sometimes we don't really think about personal safety. And so that is why I wanted to talk about it today. All right. So just I want you to think about this for a minute. When you go into a campground, not everybody is there for the same reasons you are. You may be there to have a good time, to meet other people, to explore the area, to be entertained, to relax, whatever your reasons are. Those are great reasons. That's why we RV, right? That's why we have our RVs and we want to go places. But not all people who camp with you are there for the same reasons. They're there for multiple reasons. And then my story coming up is definitely he was there for a different reason. So there are many different reasons people choose a nomadic lifestyle, because they either don't, they could be homeless and that they found a camper and that they could live in the campground. There could be other reasons that they're there. And again, not trying to make this about building fear, but about being aware. So, making a plan for your personal safety when you camp can mean the difference between a good time and a bad time. So, back to our two words for today, aware and alert, right? You want to be aware of your surroundings all the time. When you're there to have fun and you're kind of zoning out and you're trying to forget about life, so to speak, because you're on vacation on your trip or relaxing, it's still a good idea to just kind of have your awareness really on and be aware of who's around you, who's camping next to you. Maybe you've said hello to them, so you've recognized them. You see who's around you, across from you, behind you. You're just aware. Not that you have to be on guard, but aware. You also want to be alert. You want to pay attention to what's happening. Pay attention to the weather because it could be changing. Pay attention to who's moving around you in the campground. So, another thing that I would like to bring up is while we feel safe in a campground, and we are for the most part, I mean, there's those stories of people that, have unfortunate things happen to them. Maybe something was stolen, maybe somebody got hurt. But I want to talk about locking our camper because when we leave our camper and we walk away from our campsite, drive away from our campsite, it's like leaving our home and you wouldn't leave your home open. So I want to, talk to you about locking your camper, being a little more aware of that. That's what you should do when you leave. Even if you're going to laundry or the bathhouse, if you can't see your RV, lock it up. You don't want to come back to any surprises. So speaking of surprises, so this is interesting. And I don't think that this story applies to something getting in your RV, but I was at our campground recently and they told us, and we're going to talk about wild animals in a little while. They told us that they found a bear in the bathroom. So again, that is something that is unexpected and that you don't expect. So you don't want to come back to your camper with either somebody being in it or something being in it, and hopefully not a bear. A lot of us like to boondock. So you might want to use some window locks. If you like to slide into a boondocking situation overnight at a Walmart or a Flying J, for the most part, all the truckers are just great. They're friendly. They're helpful. But if you're camping there, you're running your generator, you're closed up, use your window locks. Just like you would in your home. Make sure your windows are locked and can't be accessed by sliding them open. And also don't leave your valuables in plain sight. I mean, these are all common sense things, right? I mean, even when I go somewhere in my car, I don't leave things out on the seat that make somebody want to break in and take it. It's just, temptation. You don't want to like give that to somebody so that they don't see things and possibly want to take your stuff. So let's talk about CPR, right? Because we're all camping, we're all going out. We may be hiking or swimming or doing activities that require exertion, or even if you're just sitting around the campground, knowing CPR is really important. I know I worked in the healthcare industry. I always had to have CPR refreshers every year in the practice. Not everybody gets that benefit. And you could have learned CPR in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, but now you might need it in your camping life. It can't hurt to have a refresher. And a neat thing to do is maybe make it fun. Uh, if you have grandchildren or children, learn together or get a group of your RV friends together and get a refresher in CPR. Make it fun, but learn together. And then that way you have that skill. So the next thing I want to talk about is using the buddy system. Now, I am now currently a solo RVer. And so this is something that I cannot always do, but it is always one of the best practices that you should do when you are out and about doing things in the campground. So using the buddy system is kind of goes back to my Girl Scout days. They would never let us go anywhere without another Girl Scout, right? But sometimes you have to do it alone. So then this is where you need to be aware and alert, aware of your surroundings, aware alertness. Don't walk into the bathroom unexpectedly without being aware of what you may find or who you might meet. If you have a spouse or travel partner with you, and ladies, you are going to the shower, or men, I mean, this world is weird. So just be aware of the risk of somebody being in there who may not be as friendly as you would like them to be, especially if you're in a campground that is farther out where people can be more remote and not so seen. Just have somebody else go in there with you, check out the stalls, make sure you're safe. And back to my bear story. I mean, that bear was looking for food. He wasn't looking to hurt or abuse somebody, but that would be frightening to walk in and have a bear in the bathroom. So just be aware and alert. Some other things that you might think about for your camping personal safety is carry a gun with you. If you like guns and you can use a gun well, have a gun for safety. Maybe you don't have your concealed carry. Maybe you want to keep it in your RV. There are rules to that when traveling across state lines. I really recommend that you research those before you go on and get a gun. But again, know how to use all of these weapons: a taser, pepper spray, bear spray. Just having an air horn and not being able to push the button, or knowing how it works, or the pepper spray, not knowing where it's going to come out, you could end up spraying yourself. That's something you don't want to do. So if you are going to have a weapon and keep a weapon with you, whatever that may be, just know how to use it. So let's talk about the wild animals again. So the bears, the last state park I stayed in, they made us sign, a waiver that I understood there were bears in the park, and that when you open your camper door, you should look around before you step out, that they were in high use of the park. A lot of times we build these campgrounds, and they're built in places where bears used to have trails. And this is where they go. And here we are in the middle of their trail. They don't mean any harm, but we also don't want to confront them and have to do something about them. You also want to be aware that if you have a dog with you, if you are leaving your camper and the bears are out and they've been spotted in your area, in your campground, really, really pay a close attention to your dogs, because bears and dogs, or any other wild animal, do not go well together. And as much as some of us like to go off leash with our animals, and I loved having off leash with my pet, my dog Bowser back in the day. But, at the same time, it's for their safety too. Keep them on a leash, be aware of what's going on, look around you when you go out. And, if you're in Florida, alligators love dogs too. Be aware when you're on the water. Don't have the dog walking closer to the water, be farther away. That's a huge temptation for gators. And when they're out and they're in mating season, they're hungry and they want food. So since we're talking about going places, I wanted to talk to you today about, I have a free resource. Some of you may already have this, and it's actually a redesigned campground reservation log. If you have not got a campground reservation log for me, I've actually renamed it into Your Next RV Destination Log, or Your Next Reservation Log, I should say. There's no RV in there, because that's what it is. It's the next place we're going to go. So at this link, you can totally pull this up and get a free resource from me today and start planning your next travels and use some of these tips when you travel. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the comments. First of all, before I jump into the comments, I want to tell you that next week on the RV Living Show, I was going to tell you my story. Sorry, back up. Okay, I want to tell you this story. So the reason I wrote this post is because I have personal experience with something that has happened, that I needed to be aware of my personal safety. I was not harmed. Okay, Brian was with me. We were in a city campground. And I find that some of these city campgrounds, or really remote state parks where people may go to hide, you get sketchier people. So those are just things to think about when you are making reservations, and just be more alert when you're camping there. We were in a city campground outside of Little Rock, Arkansas, and it was broad daylight, and we were walking together through the campground, just taking a break, walking, looking at all the things in the campground. And this guy came toward us. And being the friendly RVers that we are, we're like, "Hey, how you doing?" And he's like mumbling under his breath, and he got right into our space. I mean, he almost brushed up against me. He was walking by on my side. And he's like, "What are you trying to," I forget exactly what he said. He says, "Or what are you trying to make me mad," or something like that. And I was like, "No, sir. No, we're just walking. Have a nice day." So I tried to keep it positive. And Brian, of course, he got his shackles up a little bit and was like, "Whoa, what's this dude doing?" So we kept on our path. And we came around the loop. And when we came around the loop, this guy was coming at us again, and he was getting into our space again. And so we walked over, and he's still mumbling. He's saying really negative things, things that made us very aware and alert that this guy is not, we don't want to deal with him. And we were very close to our RV, and we didn't want to go into our RV to draw attention about where we were, because if he was mad, we didn't want him to come take it out on us once we were inside. So he walked on, and we went to the campground office, and we reported him, and they went and talked to him and kicked him out of the park. So these, that made me think about, what if I was to go in the restroom by myself? What if I was, again, we were not thinking about being aware and alert in that situation. And that is what kind of got me thinking about this topic even more in depth. So I want you to just take these, make them habits. If you make them habits, they're not hard. And you're always operating in this realm of safety and not fear, because we want to be proactive and preventative, not the victim, right? So I want to jump into the comments, and I want you to tell me, how do you keep yourself safe when you're on the road? So next week, the next episode of the RV Living Show is going to be about your 10 must-have items for your RV bathroom. Believe it or not, this post on my website gets 65% of my traffic to my website. People love to have ideas about their bathrooms. And I think it's because RV bathrooms are so tiny that, any tips we can get for them is really a neat thing to do. So you can come back next week, same time, same place, and learn all about the 10 must-have items that I feel that I enjoy in my RV bathroom. Okay, so let's go into the comments and see who's here with me live. And again, please post and let me know how you keep yourself safe. And if you found these tips helpful, that's also what I'd love to know. All right. I'm going to turn this off, go into comments. Dina says hello. Daniel says hello. Rose says, oh, she's enjoying weather by weeding our flower gardens. Oh boy. It's really hot here in Tennessee today. Really hot, like unexpectedly hot. Kim and Chad, they're boondocking at a lovely farm in Utah this evening. And Chad's got the jokes tonight. Every time you say alert, he says the whole world needs more alerts. Oh dear. LOL. Yes, that's Chad for you, right? He's a character. Well, Chad, how do you stay safe on the road? You can pipe in here. Sylvan says she has 2 border collies and a black lab. And when I'm walking because they need to do their business and run off energy. But most of the time, folks don't bother me. That's true. And you know what? It's going to be 98% of the time, nobody is going to bother you. And that is so true. And I think it just comes into using common sense, which we all have. But I just want to bring it back to, being more aware when we are traveling, because we are out of our normal day to day, especially if you're part-timing, you're coming out of your house and you're in those, in that vacation mindset. Rose says she will sure be sharing these tips with Harold. Thanks for all the safety tips. You're welcome, Rose. And Dina says she usually tries to stay in a well-lit area, and I tend to make sure I have everything I'm going to need so I don't have to leave. Okay, very good. You mean, and I bet you're talking about when you're boondocking or when you're staying somewhere that's not in a campground. Yeah, getting in and out of your camper in those situations just draws attention to the fact that somebody's in there. And if they don't know you're in there, they're not going to bother you. It's almost like people need ideas, and so we're not giving them any ideas. And Cindy says she has a 𝐬𝐭'𝐬 on my keychain. What is that? I would love to know what that is. Maybe you can post some more about that, Cindy. And Daniel says, we are cold in Idaho. I like having a dog in the trailer. We don't let her bark much, but I do let her bark so folks know that we have a dog. Yeah. So, and going back to, and I know not everybody here is solo. I think, but if you are a solo person, because of course, I've been thinking about this more and more, that, you could potentially in a campground set a set of boots outside your uh, camper to make people think that there's a guy inside if you're a solo woman traveling alone. I personally am not going to get a dog moving forward. Everyone thinks I should have a dog. I don't want a dog. I love dogs, but I just don't want one at this point. So a pair of men's boots to carry around and put outside the door, or a sticker, or something on that just makes it more look like there's somebody else with you, and maybe not be so chatty about that you're alone. That could be a great tip. Um, but yes, if you have a dog, letting that dog, someone know that you have a dog, that is a great strategy. And Barbara says, great tips. Awareness is the key whenever you travel. Yes, it really is. It's just wherever. And even though I talked about personal safety from this standpoint of maybe physical harm, being aware of the weather can change in a heartbeat, right? And but if you're having fun, you're not aware of that happening necessarily. I mean, of course, if storm clouds are rolling in, that. But I've been places where people are like, oh no, there's hail coming. And I'm like, oh, I didn't look at the weather app. That's something that I need to keep more aware of so that I can be prepared for things. So Cindy says that a 𝐬𝐭∗, a self-defense weapon that is metal, about 5.5 inches long. It's about a ½ inch in diameter, about the same size as a marker pen. Okay, so you stab somebody with it in the eyeballs or something like that. Is that, or hit them, it's metal, so you can smack them with it. Hopefully they never get that close to me. But, I also don't, as far as guns go, I don't necessarily want to conceal carry unless I'm super great at handling that gun. I never want it to be turned around on me. And then a taser, you have to be pretty close to somebody, but they would have to be threatening you, all those things. But anyway, thank you for sharing. I'm going to look that up. I'm going to look that up for sure. Okay. Well, I think that wraps it up for this episode of the RV Living Show. Thank you so much for joining me live and interacting with me in the comments. And Rose says you can always use your keys. Yes. Wasp spray, somebody, I bet you this is Rosemary. Keep it inside by your door so that you can, spray somebody, because wasp spray is nasty. I mean, they would be very, very sad. So great tip. And yes, Cindy says stab. Thank God I've never had to use it. Right. But you know what? You've got it. It's something that you have in case you need it. And I think that's a great thing to do. Yes. All right. And Diane says, thank you. Thank you, Diane. It was great being with you all this week. Come back next week for 10 must-have items for your RV bathroom. And you guys have a great week camping, and get ready to share your favorite bathroom things next week. I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me for the RV Living Show. I hope this episode helps you in creating an RV life that you love. Until next time, I encourage you to stop wondering and start wandering.